Okay, so problem solving. We're going to look at a problem solving question with a cost function. So same as we kind of did with other questions. We'll read it all out first, then we'll pull out our important information, and it looks like A, B, and C are going to kind of walk us through how to solve a problem like this. They could technically just ask us C, and then we'd have to infer how to build kind of A and B, but luckily there's some scaffolding here. Okay, Rima had her car towed when it broke down. Ugh, that sucks. It cost her $4.50 per mile. Oh, very American. To have it towed, plus a flat fee of $65. Okay, this is a little easier than the last one to build, but use function notation to express the cost C Rima has to pay in terms of the amount of miles used. Okay, just like we've talked about in the past, it's common in function notation to look at like f at x as the function, which is equal to some equation that has the variable x in it, and we write it out. That's why we have the variable in that set of brackets. We're saying that this is the input for the function, and f at x gives us whatever the output is. They've told us they want to call this function c. So the name of this will be c, but it'll have the variable of miles in it. So that means we're going to represent miles with the letter m. So we're going to call it c at m in this case. Now what's important is actually building this. So Rima had her car towed when it broke down. Unfortunate, but super not important for building our equation. The second sentence, what we get is her cost, it costs her $4.50 per mile, that's important, to have it towed, plus a flat fee of $65. So let's start with that. Per mile, we know that we're going to have the variable m. And if something's costing $4.50 per mile, the operation here is multiplication. That might not be so intuitive, but anything something's per mile, you're multiplying that unit by that rate. So in this case, the rate per mile is $4.50. We can represent that with just 4.5, and you can call it 4.5 m, or 4.5 times m, okay? The second part of this, though, is plus. And we know that plus usually refers to addition. A flat fee of $65. So let's do it in blue. Blue shows up a bit better. So we have plus $65. And that's the entire equation here. So we know that when Rima has her tow car, she's got to pay $65 for the person just to show up. And then depending how far it gets towed, every mile costs her another $4.50. Okay, so we've built our cost function. The next thing we're going to do, if Rima had it towed 35 miles, how much would she have to pay? Okay. So what they're asking you to do is now use your cost function. So we have cost at 34. Okay, and I'll write that part in red. We'll replace the m with a red value. So c at 34 is equal to 4.5. And at this point, we're going to replace m. We'll replace m with 34 and plus 65. Let's do this on the side, I guess. 34 times 4.5. 5 is 20, 15, 17, 16, carry the 1, 12, blah, blah, blah. 1, and there's one decimal place. Okay, so it looks like it's going to cost her $153 just for the miles traveled, plus another $65. I'll do that down here. 0, 8, 11. So it looks like her total cost here is going to be $218. So for 34 miles, it should cost her $218. And we could write a sentence about that, and we'd say, it's going to cost $218 for her to tow 34 miles. The last part of this question, if Rima has to pay $322, how many miles was the car towed? That's different. It might be misleading to go, hey, we're just going to put 322 in here. But in fact, that would be wrong. Because remember, this is a cost function with the variable m, and m was the equivalent of miles, not dollars. The cost function, that c, was the equivalent of dollars, we could say. So you can rewrite the original cost function, which we have up here, which is 4.5m plus 65. And instead, we're going to replace c at m with 322. That's telling us that we already know the cost. The cost will be $322. The question now becomes, how many miles do we have to tow? And there you can see they ask you, how many miles will the car be towed? So we have to do a little bit of isolation here. I'm going to zoom out a bit. There we go. Okay. So what we'll do here is I'm going to try to isolate m. Because it's positive 65, to move it to the other side, really what you're doing is you're subtracting 65 on both sides of the equation, or adding by negative 65. That's another way of putting it. On this side, it cancels out, or really creates a 0. So on the right side of the equation, we're only left with 4.5 miles. On the right side of the question, we have 322 subtract 65. See if I can still know my good old borrowing for subtraction. 257 we should have, so we have 257 left. Let me make sure that makes sense. 20, 40, 62. Yep, that's good. Great. The next thing we have to do is we still want to isolate for m. Because this is 4.5 times m, the opposite operation is what we want to employ. So we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 4.5. Okay. When we do that, on the right side of the equation, 4.5 divided by 4.5, again, they'll use this term as canceling out, but really what it's doing is creating 1. In fact, it's 1m. But luckily, 1 times anything is just the number itself, so we don't actually have to include that 1. But now we have to figure out is what is m equal to. So we have 257 divided by 4.5. Because it's a decimal, we can add an extra 0 here and just call it 45. And now when we go to divide our long division here, and this is where calculators come in handy. It's something we can do free-handed, but it's going to take us a little bit of time. I'll see if I can quickly get through it. It's probably roughly 5 here. So 45 by 5, 22. Yeah, that'll fit. 225. I got to do my subtraction. Isn't it nice the day they allowed us back calculators? 45 doesn't go into 32, so I know I've done that right. I bring this down. 45 into 320 is going to go in 6 times. Yeah, I think it's 6. 56. Let's see. That would be 225 plus 45. I'm using the number I had before when I multiplied by 5. I know I'm going through this part quickly. You can just use a calculator if you don't want to go through this tedious stuff. 270. Oh, wait. 270 plus 45. 315. Oh, we can actually get in 7 times there. Not just 6. And I realize I'm doing this quick and kind of probably talking to myself, but that becomes 315. We still have a remainder 5 here. We won't break it down to too many decimals. What we're going to say is 57. I know it's going to be point something, so I'm going to say approximately 57. So m is approximately 57 miles. I don't know how accurate they really want us to be in this question, but that's a pretty good approximation. M is approximately 57 miles. So we know that Rima had to tow this car a little over 57 miles to end up paying $322. They must have a really good distance unit measurer on that vehicle because they got it right down to some kind of decimal value of a mile to order, okay?